So a few days ago I made a video criticizing all of the new designs for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that got leaked last week, or whenever that was, a few days ago as I said. So in this video I'm going to redesign some of those leaked designs, and all of those leaks are confirmed by this point, so I guess I should say actual designs. So yeah, I'm just gonna get right to it. I'm not redesigning every single one, just a few of them. So starting with Quaquaval, I guess that's how you pronounce that. It's Quaxly's final evolution. So I saw the Sprigatito final evolution and the Fuecoco evolution first, and I didn't really like either of them. So when it came to the Quaxly one, I was really hoping it would look good, and when I saw it, I was disappointed, but I tried my best to like it. And I kind of like it the most, but I don't really like any of them. I think this design would be good if it was just slightly less zesty, as people call it. So I fixed my biggest problems with it. Obviously, the big dump truck they gave it. I kind of moved its body back a bit on its torso, so it looks like it's less thick. And I also made its toes or talon claws, I don't know what you call those. I made them the same color as the rest of its feet because the red just looks weird. And also, I'm pretty sure a lot of people wanted it to be a pirate, so I made it look more like a pirate by giving it a bit of an eye patch and like a red cape thing. I also removed its tail feathers. I don't, yeah, well, not all the tail feathers. I removed, like, the back tail feathers that stick up just because that kind of added to its, the dump truck they gave it. So I only left the ones that hung off the sides, so, you know, that kind of makes it seem more flat. You know, this is a bird, not a human. So, yeah, there's that. And honestly, my redesign looks a little bit more humanoid just because I made it more, upright, but still, it's just like, if they were gonna make it have that bird posture of the big back side, they should have made the legs and arms and rest of it so human-like, because it just all comes together to look really odd. And then also I gave it some extra feathers on its arms so it looks even more like a bird, and also I made the tips of those feathers all light blue, even though usually the hands, those feathers are just dark blue. So yeah, that's that one. And then moving on to, what is this thing's name? Oh yeah, Meowscarada, Sprigatito's final evolution. This is probably the worst one of the three. It's like, this is the worst case scenario for a lot of us. Bipedal, weird, humanoid creature. So, I didn't change it fully. Like, for all of these, I'm not going too far out and just completely redesigning them. I'm just changing them a bit, because I don't want this to be too unrealistic. I'm doing something that Game Freak could have at least considered when designing these. So I made it a little more cat-like and less like a human wearing a suit by giving it actual cat ears, because I don't know about you, but I don't see any ears there, so that's kind of weird. I also give it fur on the top of its head, so it looks more like a lion, not like some weird furry cat creature with a mask on. But yeah, I get it's supposed to have the mask, but yeah, gave it some fur on the top of its head, so it looks more like a lion. Then I also gave it some pink details, so it's not so bland, because it's kind of bland, honestly. And that's all I really did to it. I also kind of extended the grass-like drapes it has going on and kind of formed it into a cape, just like I did with Quaquaval. So yeah, there's that one. Also, I gave it more of that iconic Pokemon art style eye with like the angry look and the little black line above it. So yeah, there's that one. And then also, here's a random shiny recolor I did for the Quaquaval design I did, because if you saw the starter Final Evolution shinies, they got leaked and they just look underwhelming. So imagine these colors on the Quaquaval actual design. That would look a lot better. The red looks cool. Anyway, here's Kilowattrel, the final evolution for the regional bird, it's electric flying. Electric flying is cool for a regional bird. And the design is pretty neat too. I just think it could have been a little more showy of the fact that it's an electric type, so I give it a little lightning bolt feather, and also made its eyes yellow, and gave it some bigger yellow decals around its eyes. And also these designs, like, I kind of sped through these because I was doing it all in one night, and it takes a bit to do these, so these are just, like, concepts for what Game Freak, as I said, could have considered when doing these, but obviously they didn't, because they like to, I don't know what the word is, not put effort in? No, they put effort in, they made the whole game, whatever. Anyway, here's Flamigo, I believe that's how you pronounce that. It's supposed to be a flying fighting type, but if you look at it, there is no fighting. There, I mean, nothing about it screams fighting type. It should be a flying normal type, because it is the most lackluster design I've seen in a while. It is literally just a flamingo. So, in this redesign here, yeah, it looks a little goofy, but again, these are just, like, things that could have been considered to make it improved. I give it a tail, so that it's not just a normal real-life flamingo. And then I put a little boxing glove on the end of that tail to kind of show that it's a fighting type. And I also gave it darker red feathers in certain spots, so it looks more aggressive, because, you know, it's supposed to be a fighting type, but nothing about its actual design shows that. Yeah, so there's that one. And then we have, I believe this thing's name is Espathra or Espartha or something. It's supposed to be an ostrich, and an ostrich had a lot of potential for a good Pokemon design, but then they threw this weird Cleopatra bird eyesore color scheme thing, so I kind of reduced its color scheme a bit by getting rid of the yellow, because the yellow is, like, the least related color among its color scheme, and I also changed its weird Cleopatra ugly wig thing it has going on to look more like just like a big feather on its head, and I gave it more of a beak, so it's not just, like, one solid object as a head. And then I changed its legs to be orange and purple to match its neck, because purple and white stripes for its legs, but then purple and orange stripes for its neck, it just, like, it's hard to even process this thing. It's just too much, so I guess I kind of simplified this one a bit. Alright, next is the evolution for that dolphin. The dolphin is called Palafin, or no, it's called Finizen, then it evolves into something called Palafin, but the catch is, and I didn't know this when I made the video I made a couple days ago about all the leaked designs, because it was, like, the only one that wasn't leaked yet. The dolphin's evolution is quite literally the same exact thing. Like, it is identical. The only difference is it has a heart on its chest, because the evolution has another form where it turns into this ugly superhero muscular thing, and it just, like, what was the thought process there? So I thought, at least make the normal mode, or the normal form for the evolution look slightly different than the pre-evolution, because that's just, like, that just kind of shows a lack of effort. So I gave it a longer body and some maroon touch-ups with that little head bead and a bigger fin of a maroonish color on it, and then turn that little ring on its tail to maroon. So yeah, there's that one, because, you know, that, why even give it an evolution if its normal form is just going to be the same exact thing, and its other form is going to be some ugly thing. Anyway, next up is Capsakid. It's the pre-evolution to our first ever fire grass type, or this one might be fire grass too, but yeah, it's supposed to be like a little child pepper thing, but looking at its normal design, it doesn't look like that. It just looks like a green rat with a hat. So I made mine, I gave it a little stem, and I made its head red, so it looks like more like a hot pepper. There's nothing else to really say about this one, it's just a little change, and also its normal design just kind of looks ugly, so I think mine is a little less so, since it looks a little more like a pepper, kind of has the idea, gets the point across better. And then I also did its evolution, Scovillain, and when I looked at this, I just can't help but think it looks weird and ugly, but if you actually, like, look at its head close up, it had potential with that head design, it looks good. So what I did is I just got rid of the other head, got rid of the weird thin stem neck, and just had one head there on the body, and that immediately made me realize that, like, this did have a lot of potential. Look at this. It looks like a cool pepper dinosaur creature, but instead we got this weird two-head, thin neck abomination. So yeah, mine is that, and it has, I picked the red head, or I give it a red head, so it looks more like a hot pepper, because it's part fire type, and if you're gonna do like a pepper thing, the pepper should be red, because that kind of, it's like a more of a hot color than green is. You get the point. Anyway, next up, Wugtrio. This one was a disappointment because Wiglet is the garden eel Pokemon, so I was hoping instead of just making its evolution three long oblong shapes of faces, they would actually get creative and make it look like an actual garden eel. And a lot of fan designs I saw did that, but Game Freak didn't. They just made it Wiglet but 3 times and red because, ooh, it's like Dugtrio. But no. I did what I was hoping it would look like, and I made it look more like a actual garden eel. So I didn't even use Wugtrio's design to design this one. I used Wiglets because it was already white, and that's what garden eels are. And I just took 3 Wiglets. I put 2 of them in the back, give them black stripes to look more interesting. I made their eyes yellow because garden eel eyes are yellow. And I made the front one bigger, and I made it look like an actual garden eel, but just more aggressive and cool. So yeah, that's what I was hoping Wugtrio would look like, but then we just got 3 suspicious objects. Yeah, okay, anyway. Then we have this abomination called Orthworm. Yeah, they got really creative with the designs and names this gen. Not really, but yeah. It's this metal ugly worm thing, and I thought, at least make it look a little cool, and that can be instantly done by simply changing the eyes from that derpy look to a cool robot cyber type eye look like Miraidon and the future Paradox worms have. So I did that, and I also gave it a little screw on its tail, because, I don't know, it's steel type, and it's like a robot, so why not put a screw there to make it a little more interesting? Then we have Baxcalibur, the final evolution for the regional pseudo-legendary, or whatever you call it, the pseudo-legendary, and it's an ice dragon type, and I was really hoping, because I saw its pre-evolutions first, and it looked like it was going to become a really cool ice Spinosaurus thing, but then it's just Godzilla. Like, it's an ice dragon type, as I said, but looking at it, you cannot tell that. It literally looks like a steel dragon type, or just a dragon type. It looks like Duraludon, but more dragon, less steel. Like, and it's also just Godzilla, so, like, they could have got a little more creative. And if my redesign here, this isn't actually what I'm talking about. Like, I would have preferred an actual Spinosaurus, like, I'll show it here, like that, but icy, with, like, ice all over it. But the one I made, you know, as I said, this is at least what Game Freak could have considered doing if they were gonna go with the actual design they did. I just made it more blue, so it looks more like an ice type, and also made its claws white instead of red. I don't know why they're red, and I gave it little snowflake things on its tail and forehead, so yeah. They at least could have considered doing something like that, because it just does not look like an ice type, and I feel like Ice Dragon was had really good potential for a pseudo-legendary, especially since the middle evolution looked like the final evolution was going to be a cool Spinosaurus, but then it's just this. So yeah, I mean, it's still a good design, but moving on. Here is Fluttermane, or I think that's what it's called. It's the Paradox past form for Miss Magi, or not Miss Magius, Miss Drevis, but I was thinking, like, because I don't know if you know this or not, but the Paradox forms are essentially individual Pokemon. Like, they're not related, or they are not, like, actually the things that they are. So this thing here, this is not actually Miss Drevis. They are 2 individual, separate things. And that means all of the Paradox forms that would have evolutions in their, like, normal Pokemon don't actually have them. So this does not evolve into a Paradox Mismagius. It's just its own sole basic thing. So I was thinking, at least if it's like that, because the whole idea is that it's like a past form of Misdrevius, I thought, okay, but if it doesn't have an evolution, then you'd think the past form would kind of look like the modern forms, so maybe it would also have some details of Miss Magius too, because like, if it was in the past, then if it was just one thing in the past, then it would split and later on be able to be two things, Miss Drevis and then Miss Magius. So I give it some, I don't know if that made any sense, but yeah, I give it some Miss Magius details, specifically the color scheme and the little wispy cloths on the bottom, but I still kept its overall structure. So yeah, there's that one. Then these final two are just recolors of two of the future Paradox forms. This first one's Tyranitar. This isn't for a shiny, this is for what I actually wished it looked like, because a lot of the future Paradox forms are literally just the same thing as what they're supposed to be based off of, but made out of metal and a robot, so I thought they could have at least changed the color up a bit. Like, they did that with the Iron Hands Hariyama one, which is why it's, like, probably my favorite design from the whole generation. By the way, you can't get these until the post-game, apparently, and that kind of disappointed me, because Iron Hands was, like, the only good design to me, other than, like, that one Dune, or Dung Beetle thing. But yeah, anyway, they could have at least made them a little more interesting by changing their color palette like they did with Iron Hands, because it does not have the same colors as Hariyama, so why not give Tyranitar a different color and make it gold, because it's like metal, so make it gold, and that looks cool. So yeah, there's that one. And then also the Iron Jugulus, which is the future Hydreigon, also make it gold, but also silver, because those are just two metals, and then you get that, the color drop on the Procreate. Procreate is the app I used to make all this. It didn't work too well for this. It kind of bled a bit, like the colors kind of splattered too much, but that's kind of the idea I was going for. Just make them not the same colors, because honestly they just look exactly the same as the Pokemon that they're based off of, but metallic, and it could have been a little more different. So yeah, there's those. And then now I also just want to throw some ideas I have for type changes up, because I think some of the Pokemon this generation are not typed correctly. Like, they could have been typed better, especially a lot of the future Paradox forms. Only one of them is Steel type, but they're all robots, so they should all be Steel type. Anyway, here's that now.